Hello, James. How are you?
Wow. Once again,
Once again,
hey,
it's a pleasure
yes,
to have the chance to talk to you again today.
yeah.
How are you?
Oh, I'm doing good. Yeah,
Yeah,
you?
very well,
You
thank you.
you
The
look
last
great.
time we spoke was almost 2 years ago,
Yeah,
another occasion. And I remember we spoke about the new album you were working on. And
right.
the provisional title was Bring Me the Priest.
Yes.
What happened after that?
Well, I think that what happened is again, because that would have been, I still agree with that one. But when you start thinking about the album work cover, um, in the guy that's doing that does our artwork for the covers now, Bart, I mean, he said, yeah, but you know what? The only thing that I can think about that is that it might represent the Holy Diver cover too much.
Mm.
Oh, and I was like, I don't think of it that way, because what are you going to do with the title that strong? You're going to have some kind of an image of the devil, yeah, bring me the priest, yeah. So as we were started writing stuff, then that's what ended up happening is that we we didn't really even have a title. We were almost done with the record, and Larry was there was several titles that came up, and then I just said the opening track is the Devil's Masquerade, and all the songs are about something to do with demonic possession and this and that. Well, it sounds like the devil's having one hell of a party, so it fits, and that's how we ended up doing that. Yeah,
Yeah, well, the last proper studio album dates back to 2016, which is like
9 years ago.
9 years ago.
Well,
And why such a big gap between albums? Also, like some were any of the tracks that you released now written, I don't know, 8, 9 years ago, or is it just recent materials that were composed more like in more recent?
no, I think the majority of it was all written recently, but then half of it was written by the one member who left.
Yeah.
So then we had to rewrite everything again. We didn't want to use his material. Although he said, "Yeah, you can keep my songs," and we're like, "Yeah, but that stuff can come bite you in the ass later on, you know." And we're like, "Nah." Well, Larry said, "Nah, we'll come up with five more songs." And he goes, "I have stuff in the vault." So he did have some stuff that had been saved since 2017 or 18, somewhere around there. And so we just went ahead and took that, and then so he started sending me material. I started writing the lyrics, and the next thing you know, he's like, "Well, we only got one more to go." And the next thing you know, we're like, "Well, we got a full record now." But that's what took so long is that the break that we had to go rewrite everything again,
So you've
and
had like many lineup changes during the years, many like problems with management and with band members. And once again, you have a different lineup. Not completely different, but it's
but
different.
yeah.
Vampiro, as you mentioned. What happened this time?
Well, really, all it's the same lineup as Vampiro, except for Andre. Andrew was the one that left,
Yeah.
and it was just a collaboration of a lot of things. He had a lot of personal things going on, and I think that we were starting to get to the point where we were butting heads about songwriting and words and things like certain things musically and I guess maybe what ended up happening is that we were unhappy, and he was very unhappy. So, last thing we want to do is drag someone around who's not happy, so it ended just like that, pretty quick.
Mhm.
And but hey, we knew that we were going to find somebody sooner or later. Well, when that happened, that's when me and Larry said, "Okay, dude, you and we've been together for 40 something years. I've been with you longer than you've been with your wife, dude. So, so look, from here on out, let's please keep a promise. You and I control everything that goes on in this band, songwriting, everything. And so for now, all we need is one hell of a shredder to come in and do solos. We don't need him to come write this, write that for now, at least for now, because it's going to sidetrack us. You and I already have a focus on what we want this record to sound like. So let's just do that. Then we started getting demo tapes from all over the world, and I'm just like, but we need somebody here. And of course, Alon. has been a fan since he was born.
Yeah.
And his dad used to be in a band that opened up for us back in the Nosferatu days. And then they had this, after a couple of several years went by, but they had this tradition where they would take me every year for my birthday to dinner. And so I'd get a text from Alon Sr., hey, birthday boy, what day are you free this week? You know, and I'm like, oh man, really? And they did that for years. So I saw Alon grow
Oh,
from
that's adorable.
being in a high chair and eating enchiladas and making a big mess to being a grown man now. And he started playing when he was 5. And obviously you can hear it on the record. And so in the beginning, the only problem that we had was when it came to that, I told Larry, I said, dude, look, man, he's right here. He's, this and that. I mean, he's part of the family, or he's part of my family for sure. So we don't have to worry about him being some weirdo or anything like that. And he's like, yeah, man, but damn it, he's 40 years younger than us. I go, he's not like that though when you get with him. Hmm. All right. So he sent him some songs. He said, hey, learn this, learn that, learn baptize, learn back cathedral, come to my house and we'll play them together and see what you got. Well, he went over there. Larry was like, whoa. And then they started talking, having a few beers. He goes, hey, you want to listen to new material? He's like, yeah. So he played him all the new stuff. And he goes, so if I got the gig, where would I solo? I go, well, that would be your solo section. And he goes, hey, plug it in. The next thing you know, he ended up doing 3 solos on the new record
It's
that day.
phenomenal.
And then, yeah, and then so Larry sends a text to everybody. He goes, hey guys, we got our new guitar player. So they made burgers and barbecued and they hung out till 3 in the morning. And he's like, dude, I love that guy. I said, I told you, the hell with age. You know what I
That's like
mean?
the cycle that completes, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And I said, so I was happy. I was very happy he got the gig, but I pushed for it too. But
Yeah.
in every rightful way, though, Larry should have the last call, because he's got to play with this other guitar player. So I couldn't force it on him. I said, but at the end of the day, you decide, you know. And then once he hung out with him, that was it. He was like, he's in.
Well, in the press release talking about Larry and your relationship with him, you mentioned that you on this album you went back to the old school way of working together. How did it change from like the way you worked on Vampiro, for example? Because that was pretty an old school album already.
Well, because we actually instead of he would send me the material, then I would right out the gate. It's just weird because it's a weird marriage we have. Like so when he sent me another new song, which we call it new, but they actually were in the vault.
Yeah.
But to me, they're new, they're foreign. But the minute he sent them to me, like I would text him and go, dude, I already got a verse and a chorus. What? I go, it just comes magically. All I do is listen to it for a while, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do this here and I do that there, and then and I said, but let me write the lyrics. Let me give you the idea. So I would send it on a voice memo. He goes, yeah, I like that. I like that. I go, but let me come over to the house and let's work on it together. And while we were working on it, we were recording it. So we were killing 2 birds with 1 stone, writing and recording. And because we knew we had to hurry up, we couldn't waste time. And I said, but yeah, to me, it's all worth it. And me and Larry don't live anywhere. I mean, I don't know if you've ever been to Houston.
No, I haven't.
Maybe one day.
One
It's
day, yeah.
it'd be nice. Well, it's about the size of the Netherlands. So, yeah.
Well, we just live both in Houston, but it's just 6 hours apart.
So Larry lives like an hour and a half from me, you know what I mean? So yeah, we live far apart. Yeah. So yeah, I mean Houston's that big. And so I would just be like, nah, man, let me come over there. Let's work on it together. Because I don't want to waste time thinking that what is in my head is not what's in your head. We needed to be in both our heads together. And we became the double dragon again. And then we would record parts, then we would record them over again, and then we'd listen to it. We'd take a break, go have a slice of pizza or something in the kitchen, then come back, And then I'm like, oh, there's where I should do this. And he's like, dude, yeah, that's right. And that's how we ended up going back to old school. We wrote together actually for a change. Instead of here, send me this part, send me that part, and da 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 da. Well, and it was different. It was different.
And like going back in time, like your relationship started, like you met after a battle of the bands where both of your bands actually lost. Would you have ever imagined that for more than 4 decades later, you were about to release yet another album together?
You know what? I'll be honest with you. I don't even know what I'm doing here talking to you, but I guess I am a vampire. I didn't think I'd live this long, you know? They're like, oh, you're gonna live for centuries. Like, yeah, that's a joke, but I mean, yeah, I honestly I didn't. I had no clue that we would be putting out one of the best records 40 years later. And I truly feel that with this record. It's hard and it's almost unfair. And you have to be careful how you word things, but this is the first record that I have never gotten tired of listening to myself. So that tells me it's that strong.
Nice.
Because every record I put out, besides Vampiro, yeah, in the beginning, because the promotion's going on and you get the new CD from the label, you pop it in the CD player in the car. Yeah, yeah, you're all proud of your work. But a week later, I'm like, get out. Yeah, I'm bored. This is the first record that I have not stopped listening to for my own enjoyment. So I have to step outside of myself as a listener and the creator. And if I wasn't in this band or I had never heard of this band, that CD would be like my favorite. I'd be like, this is a great record.
Well, one of my questions I was supposed to ask later on in the interview was about like looking back at all your discography, if there's an album that you think, Helstar album, that you think should have gotten more recognition that it has.
Um, when it comes to the first four classics, I think they got the recognition that we were aimed for because we didn't, obviously, we missed the Metallica and the Megadeth boat and
Mm.
the Anthrax boat, but that was due to bad management. I think we went through all that already. Yeah. But so I think they got their fair share of what they needed to be put at, and where they got recognized and how much they got recognized. But to be honest, yeah, I thought Vampiro should have got a lot more attention.
Piro was
It
perfection.
was it was perfection, right? And so it just, trying a new lay, and it all went back to because Dave Ellefson is a good friend of mine. I took a shot when I probably should have just stayed on AFM because that was their favorite record. And it was too late, But they begged me, man, please, yeah, reconsider it. And I'm like, well, I mean, are you going to go up on the advance? I'm like, oh, we can't. And go, well, see, then it was one of those things.
Yeah.
But now to this day, I think that we should have stayed with AFM for Vampiro. And I think it would have got more attention for sure, you
Yeah,
know?
just a recap for whoever's listening or watching. Like Vampiro was released on Dave Ellefson EMP.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now, but and the new album is going to be released by Massacre Records,
Yep.
and which is sort of going back.
Yeah.
How did it happen? Where did you just decide straight after Vampiro that you had to go to change?
Change. Well, number one, I went back to AFM.
Yeah.
And I said, so for the next record, and they wanted it, Niels wanted it. He goes, but there's been some changes in the business now. And he says, but here's what I would like to see because we're working with Massacre now. And Massacre is going to start putting out the bands like your tier and your style and this and that. AFM, he goes, to be honest, they and I've seen it too in their catalog. They're signing a bunch of modern metal stuff now. They're not signed in old school metal. I think even Flotsam's gone, so it was one of those things. But at least here you're going to get love and because it's what they really want and what you are about. And I said, okay. But then Massacre went through all this weird stuff. That was the other reason for the delay. The album was given to them a year and a half ago. So, but Thomas had to get his, he was working on some things, and then I guess now we're all-star part of Nuclear Blast too as well. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. But now he hooked up with Mystic Promotions or Mystic Productions
Yeah.
out of Poland, and now he's back on track. And then of course they hired a separate promotional company, what that you obviously because they live in Italy too. So and things are seem like they're moving in a real way again. Like, wow, I feel like I'm in a real band again. You know, I didn't. I mean, she started sending me all these reviews. I mean, interview requests, and I'm like, whoa, hold on, the record hasn't even come out yet. I
Yeah.
go, that's great, that's great. So we're seeing that. We think this album is going to get a lot of attention,
But
and
especially after Vampiro. Vampiro
yeah,
was incredible. It wasn't even a comeback, but you know what I mean? Like it was a comeback
yeah.
in terms
Well,
of
it brought back the signature
yeah,
sound of the band for sure.
yeah.
It was like it should have been, which would have been stupid because Larry was, some guy he drew a cartoon version of the Nosferatu guy. And then he goes, dude, Nosferatu. And so with the
Oh,
number
yeah.
two, like that would be cheesy. Yeah, yeah.
Well, like Nosfer Vampiro was bringing back also, of course, the vampirism, the theme, the
Yeah,
takes that were so strong in the past, that also present on the Devil's Masquerade, and
yeah,
that somehow are part of your persona of who you are right now.
right.
What is it? What's this thematics for you nowadays? What does it represent?
What, the Devil's Masquerade?
No, vampirism in general,
Oh,
still part of it.
well, it for me, it represents a fantasy world of feeling immortal and feeling somewhat majestic, and it keeps me motivated. And my whole life has changed. And I mean, I don't think there's anybody that calls me James anymore. They just call me Vampiro. Hey, the
Yeah,
vampire.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah. And I just grew with it, and I thought, man, I would love to be in a damn vampire movie one day, or something like that. But I think like I said, it's an imaginary force that makes me get up every day and do things. Like, what if I really was a vampire? What would I do? You know,
What would you do?
what would I do? Okay,
Yeah.
you know what I would do? I would, I would be a superhero. I would be because crime is so bad in America right now.
Mm-mm-mm.
I would be a vampire that would just feed on bad people. And then so I would picture myself after a gig going up to the tallest building in downtown and lurking and just looking. Uh, Asshole, gonna try to rob little old lady, huh? Okay.
Like a Robin
Get her.
Hood stealing blood rather and life rather
Yeah,
than
yeah.
money. Yeah.
So that's what I would do. I would just save people like that, Could you imagine that? I swoop down, this guy's trying to rob this little old lady with her groceries. Yeah. Ma'am, you drop apple.
But you've also like the vampirism, the thematics, they've always also linked to cinema, to horror.
Yeah.
Is that the case with the Devil's Masquerade as well?
Yes. And what's odd is that the title, see, the title does fit a lot. Although Bring Me the Priest would have been just as good. I mean, because
A great title, yeah.
yeah, the especially the song Seek Out Your Sins. Okay, what that's about is about the movie The Exorcist Pope. And I mean the Pope's Exorcist.
Yeah.
But in my version of the story, the good loses and the kid dies, the priest all die, everybody dies in the house. And that's why you hear the laugh at the end of the song because it's like, I won. Yeah, Well, I mean, think about it in a weird way. It's kind of weird when you watch any kind of movie and good always wins at the end, right?
Oh.
In this case, good didn't win because this demon was so powerful they couldn't handle it. And no matter whatever they tried to do, he still outpowered them. And so that's what that's about. Then you got um, the Black Wall, and then you got
Such
uh,
like Black Wall is one of my favorite of the new album.
and that's about The Conjuring, the movie The Conjuring. Well, what is that about? Demon possession, right?
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
and then you move on to Annabelle, The Devil's Masquerade. It's about Annabelle, the movie.
Yeah.
What is that about? Demon possession. So you start going down the list of the songs, we're like, man, we wrote a lot of demon possession stuff on this record. Well, it's the devil having a great time. Hey,
Yeah.
I'm the hero this time around, you know. And so in a comical way, that's I think the title does fit it now because it's like, hey, this is the best of, I'm having a great party right now, you know. Yeah.
But going down the track list, actually, like the last one on the track list is this song that features a ton of metal voices, like "I Am the Way."
Mhm.
What can you tell us about it? How did it happen? How did it come together?
Well, so I've always had this dream of like um wanting to do a song with some special guest people, and it came from the idea of Dio when he did "We're Stars,"
Yeah.
and all those different singers he had come in, and of course he had different guitar players too. But in this one, we only kept it to singers. And I've always been a big Hammerfall fan. The first record in particular, and they always had these huge, gigantic choruses, which made them so big. I mean, the beer chugging choruses, you know.
Yeah.
And so when it came to that, I said, you know what? For once, I want to write a song and feature Jason McMaster, Rob Lowe, and just they're going down the list, and then going, and I want the chorus to be big, like And Larry was like, "Huh, man, I think you're onto something here, dude." Oh, that's how it happened. And then I called every one of those singers and they right away. Oh, hell yeah, dude. You count me in. Yeah, dude. Oh, I'd love to do that. So that's how it happened. And then that song is about a legion of vampires taking the world back from mortal people that have screwed it all up. When you look at politics, right? And
Yeah.
they think that we're bad just because we like to drink blood. But I am not the one shedding the blood. You are with your wars. We just come and drink it up. Yeah. Hey guys, fill up the jugs. Come on. Yeah, yeah. So, but that's kind of what that song's all about too. But yeah, I mean it's when I listen to it, it still gives me chills. Just like when you
Incredible voices all combined, which is like,
yeah.
and like talking about voices and singing, um, your voice has always been like one of the defining features of Helstar.
Mhm.
And you told me that you took some some lessons,
Training.
some
Yeah.
training in the past. Do you still do that? Do you still
No,
voice something
I
you
thought
learned?
about matter of fact, my good buddy Travis Willis, who's in Crimson Glory now. And by the way, he's on
Yeah.
I Am Way. Yeah. So and you could hear him right away,
Well, yeah, of course. Well, we should just say who's in the song. It's like Rob Lowe, Travis Willis, um,
Jason
Chris,
McMaster.
Christopher Salinas, Drew Brown,
Yeah. Mike Solis from Militia.
yeah, Jeff
Christy
Vanderberg,
Larson from Necrophire. Yeah.
yeah,
Drew Brown and Jeff Vandenberg.
yeah,
They're two local heroes here in Houston, but they're like really good friends of mine, and they have great voices. And I said, I'm going to put you guys on the record too, man.
yeah.
Shit, why not? But yeah, I Travis Willis, he gave me a number to a lady, and I said, because when it comes to any art you do, whether it's guitar playing, singing, drumming, whatever, you never stop learning things. And the more you learn, the more better you get. And when you think that you know it all is when you're in trouble,
Mm.
And that's when I said, well, I mean, oh, so who's this lady? He goes, dude, she's in Austin, but she'll do Zoom lessons with you. And that's what helped me really big time with the Crimson Glory.
Like in in recent years.
Yeah, right. Yeah, just recently.
Yeah,
So I got her number and I'm thinking about doing some lessons with her. Just to, you never know what you can find out, and but like I said, well, I think that when you think that you know it all and you don't want to advance anymore, then you're going to sound like that on the next record.
yeah.
Uh, it sounds okay, but it sounds like he didn't learn anything new or he didn't try anything different, but you gotta be careful how you try things different so that it still identifies you.
Well, in the past, like apart from Hellstar, you had different experiences as well that I guess they also shaped who you became
Yeah.
afterwards. Like in during the times before the reunion. You were in many bands, no one, and some
I know,
names, you know?
I was a little prostitute. Yeah.
And some big names too. Flotsam and Jetsam, Vicious Rumors, Destiny's
Seven
End,
Witches.
yes,
Yeah.
Seven Witches. How did this experience shape who you became afterwards, and how different was being in those bands rather than your previous years in Helstar?
Well, it was a learning experience for sure. But I will say that every one of those bands, they did improve my singing for sure. There's no doubt about it. Especially Seven Witches. When we did that passage to the other side, Jack Frost and Joey Vera really made me a more extraordinary singer. They worked with me in the studio very hard, and then, of course, Vicious Rumors, they took me to another whole level. And so I guess when I was with those bands, I mean, I enjoy every moment of it. I miss it. But then when it all, comes down to it, I think these days, because of maybe the time I have on my hands, versus what I had then, uh, I decided to put all my eggs in one basket for now, and
Yeah,
that's my baby Hellstar, and it is where I do my best work. And so it's kind of weird when when you have people go, dude, oh man, the new Vicious Rumors record's great, man, but dude, there's nothing like listening to Hellstar. And I'm like, it's just that what they say is that your voice fits that music to the T,
yeah,
and it's true. Whereas with these other bands, they didn't write quite as dark. And so it wasn't like I was uncomfortable, but it wasn't me. You know what I mean? Like the real me. Then the minute the Hellstar guys got back together, we wrote the King of Hell in almost 1 week. It came that fast,
yeah,
because it was natural. And the way Larry writes, we have a certain connection.
yeah. Well, Vicious Rumors just came out as well with a new album.
Yes.
Yeah, and like it's crazy to think that you both releasing something so close to each other right now. And you were some of the first people to first bands to get labeled as US metal, and now like you've kind of like represent that genre.
Yeah, we're
Yeah, how does it feel?
good. I mean, yeah, I think everybody's looking at us like, hey, that's the army. That's our
Yeah.
general. That's our generals right there. you know, I, there's no doubt in my mind, in my crystal ball, I see a Vicious Rumors Hellstar tour for sure.
Yeah,
You know, yeah, or at least some shows together.
yeah.
You can't get any better than that. I mean, that's like peas and carrots, like Tom Hanks said in what's it called? Yeah, Mama, I gotta go to the show. What show? Vicious Rumors and Hellstar. It's like peas and carrots. You know what I mean?
Well, that would be something.
Forrest Gump.
Well, like we mentioned in the past some like management problems in the past, lineup changes, some setbacks that always went in the way of Hellstar during
Yeah.
the decades. Was there ever a moment when you were just tired of it, where you just like had enough?
You know, emotionally I did, but mentally I knew that I couldn't just quit because when you've spent more than half your life, I mean, think about it. At the age I'm at now and how long I've been doing this versus being a normal person with a job. How you doing there? Yep. Yeah. It's been 75% of my whole life. So you either look at it as
Of your whole
seven,
700 years of life.
yes, 700 years. Okay. So you either look at it as a waste of centuries and time, or you look at it as an investment to go, this is what I must keep doing. Do you
Yeah,
see what I'm
that's
saying? And
true.
so,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, in the real world, what am I supposed to do now? Go back to college and be a doctor? I'd be like, hey, Terry, where does it hurt? Because I can't see. uh,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's weird when you're so far into it. You, yeah, you're basically you're up shit creek. You're like, there's no turning back no more. I mean, I have a work from home job in the day. Sure, I could do that all I want, but at this point, if I can do both, leave it at that. And that's why I don't have to be in all these bands to keep the bills paid.
Yeah.
Now I can just do one, and I still do all my tribute stuff.
Yeah, yeah, of
So
course. Yeah.
yeah, and that keeps me busy.
Yeah.
So
Well, our time is almost up. And
Yeah.
I would like to ask you, just like if you want to add anything for your Italians fans, also like the last time you played in Italy was back in 2017. So are you planning to promote the Devil's Masquerade with a show? Will you come to
Yes,
Europe and will you come to Italy as well?
of course. We're
Yeah.
coming to where's Barbara's hometown? Tor-
Milano?
no, hold on.
Torino?
Torino. We're
Yeah.
coming to Torino. Yes. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the
And
show we're doing in Italy.
yeah, great.
And that was one of the first ones to get confirmed. So I think it's going to be, yeah. And then with everything going on, I think that, that's probably going to be one of the most, I think it's oh no, it's the second show once we hit mainland Europe because we start in Greece.
Yeah.
And then from Greece, we fly to Slovenia and then Slovenia to Torino and then Torino to Bochum, Germany or something like that. Then Belgium, then Munich, and then um, where else? Stuttgart, and then flight to Spain and 4 shows in Spain. So
Great.
yeah, it's gonna be fun.
With some of fun, yeah.
I hope you can make it to the show.
Yeah, I
And
hope
we,
so
we
too.
can have a
I'll
glass of
do my
vino
best.
together,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time. Thank you again.
Oh, Terry, yeah, thank you.
It's
It's
always a
always a pleasure to
pleasure.
talk to you. Yes,
Thank
awesome.
you. And I'm looking forward to the release for everyone to hear it because I have
Yeah.
already.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.